82 years. That's a long road, isn't it? A journey filled with countless joys and sorrows, laughter and tears, and lessons learned sometimes gently, sometimes with a jolt. As I sit here today, looking back at the long stretch behind me, there's a quiet truth that rises to the surface. It's not about what I did achieve or what I failed to do. No, the deeper reflections whisper about the things I held onto too tightly, the burdens I carried far longer than necessary, things that ultimately dimmed the light that could have shone so much brighter. If only I had known then what I know now, how much lighter my spirit could have been, how much more freely I could have loved and lived. My dear, if you, like many of us, are standing at a crossroads, navigating the beautiful, sometimes bewildering transitions of life, I hope that sharing these quiet regrets can offer you a gentle shortcut to peace. Perhaps, just perhaps, my 82 years can save you some unnecessary weight on your own path. The first thing I truly wish I had let go of sooner was the crushing need to be perfect, to please absolutely everyone. How I chased that elusive ideal. As a young teacher, I meticulously planned every lesson, every craft project, every parent-teacher conference, convinced that any imperfection would reflect poorly on me. Then, stepping into the role of a pastor's wife, that feeling only intensified. There was this unspoken expectation, you see, to be the embodiment of grace, to have the most orderly home, the most well-behaved children, the most thoughtful advice for everyone who walked through our door. I remember one summer, planning our annual church picnic. I spent weeks perfecting my potato salad recipe, fretting over the weather, worrying if the games would be engaging enough for every age group. By the time the day arrived, I was so exhausted and anxious about everything going just so that I barely tasted my own potato salad. And I certainly didn't truly connect with the wonderful people I was trying so hard to serve. I was so busy managing the performance, I forgot to enjoy the presence. It wasn't until much later, after John, my husband, gently reminded me that people wanted me, Grace, not a flawless Martha Stewart, that the weight began to lift. He said, "God doesn't ask for perfection, Grace. He asks for your heart." It was a simple truth, rooted in our faith, that had somehow gotten lost amidst my striving. What a freeing realization it was to understand that true connection isn't born from flawlessness, but from authenticity and shared humanity. It's about showing up as you are, knowing that grace covers the rest. The second burden I carried far too long was holding on to unspoken resentments or hurts. You know those tiny nicks and bumps that happen in any community, any family, any close friendship? Sometimes we swallow them down, believing it's more polite or less disruptive to keep silent. But those swallowed bits, they don't just disappear, they fester, becoming a quiet poison in our hearts. I recall a misunderstanding with a dear friend, not one of our current circle like Clara or Hazel, but a woman from our old church community. It was about a simple promise, a small favor that she'd forgotten, and in my mind, it somehow grew into a symbol of her disregard. I kept it to myself, stewing, feeling wounded, and slowly, a little distance grew between us. I'd nod and smile, but the warmth wasn't there. It took far too long, months perhaps, for me to finally gather the courage to speak to her, not in anger, but in quiet honesty, sharing how I had felt. And what do you think happened, my dear? She looked at me with such genuine surprise, apologized profusely, and explained a difficult situation she'd been navigating at the time. All that time, all that hurt, could have been avoided if I had simply spoken my truth with kindness and vulnerability. Holding on to those thorns only pricked my own heart. Forgiveness, I've learned, isn't always about letting the other person off the hook. It's about freeing yourself from the bitterness that binds you. It's about mending the threads that tie us together, understanding that sometimes those threads fray, but with a little grace, they can be rewoven. The third thing I regret not letting go of sooner was the illusion of control over everything. How we cling to the idea that if we just plan enough, worry enough, work hard enough, we can dictate life's unfolding. As a mother, you try to steer your children towards good choices. As a caregiver, you want to ease every discomfort. As a pastor's wife, you pray for a seamless service, a thriving congregation. But life, bless its heart, has its own grand, mysterious plan. I remember when my John became ill. I tried to control every aspect of his care, every appointment, every meal schedule, every medication schedule. I read every book, consulted every doctor. I truly believed that my vigilance could somehow hold back the tide. But eventually, there comes a point where you realize that there are forces far beyond your reach. It was a humbling, agonizing lesson. I saw Elias, our dear Elias, in his woodworking shop. And he once told me that sometimes the wood itself dictates the shape. The grain tells you what it wants to become, not the other way around. He learned to work with it, not against it. That simple wisdom resonated so deeply with me. Letting go of the illusion of control isn't giving up, it's surrendering to the natural flow, trusting in a divine orchestration that is far wiser than our own limited perspective. It's about pouring out love and care, and then, with open hands, trusting the outcome to something greater than ourselves. If something in this is resonating with you, I'd be so grateful to know. You might just type, "I'm listening," in the comments below, so we know we're in this together. It helps to know we are not alone on this path. The fourth thing I truly wish I had released earlier was the fear of vulnerability and asking for help. For so many years, I prided myself on my strength, on being capable, on always being the one who offered support, not the one who needed it. Perhaps it was part of being a teacher, always guiding. Perhaps it was part of being a pastor's wife, a pillar in the community. But life has a way of showing you where your true strengths lie. And often it's not in rugged individualism, but in our interconnectedness. There was a time after John passed when the sheer weight of grief and managing everything alone felt insurmountable. I was trying to hold up the sky, you see. I would politely refuse offers of meals or help with errands, assuring everyone I was just fine. But I wasn't fine. One afternoon, my dear friend Hazel, with her wonderfully adventurous spirit, just showed up at my door, unannounced, with a casserole and a determined look in her eye. She didn't ask if I needed help. She simply said, "Grace, I'm doing your laundry. You look like you need to rest." And in that moment, the dam broke. I cried and I let her help, and it was the most beautiful, humbling gift. I realized that asking for help isn't a sign of weakness. It's an act of courage. It allows others to step into their own grace, to express their love for you, to be the hands and feet of God when you need them most. We are all threads in this magnificent tapestry of life, and sometimes a thread needs a little support from its neighbors to hold its shape. The fifth regret I carry is the pursuit of an ideal future instead of savoring the present. How often do we live for someday? Someday when the children are grown, someday when we retire, someday when the house is paid off, someday when we finally have time for ourselves. As a young woman, I was always planning, always looking ahead to the next milestone, the next holiday, the next achievement. I had this picture in my mind of what a perfect life would look like in retirement, full of travel and quiet contemplation. And while those things have their place, I realize now how many small, precious, utterly ordinary moments I rushed through, impatiently waiting for the next grand chapter to begin. I remember John and I would often take evening strolls hand in hand around the neighborhood. Sometimes I'd be mentally reviewing my lesson plans for the next day or thinking about church matters. My body was there, but my mind was elsewhere. How I wish I had simply absorbed more of those quiet moments, the feeling of his hand in mine, the scent of the evening air, the simple blessing of being together, just being. The future is a beautiful promise, my dear, but it is not guaranteed. This moment, right now, with all its imperfections and quiet joys, is the only moment we truly possess. It's a profound gift, one that deserves our full presence, our full gratitude, and our full attention. And finally, the sixth thing I wish I had let go of sooner was the belief that my worth was tied to my productivity or accomplishments. This one, I think, resonates deeply for many of us, especially as we navigate the post-career years. For decades, my identity was so intertwined with being Mrs. Thompson, the teacher, or Pastor John's wife. There was a clear role, clear responsibilities, and a clear sense of contributing. When John passed, and I eventually retired from teaching, there was a period of quiet confusion. Who was I, if not defined by what I did? I saw Clara, our beloved Clara, who retired from art teaching and simply started painting for the sheer joy of it, not for exhibitions or accolades. She found such peace in that. For me, it was a journey of rediscovering my intrinsic worth, a worth that isn't earned through merit badges or career success, but is simply inherent, a gift from God. Our worth isn't found in the bustling activity of our hands or the accolades from the world. It resides in the quiet core of our being, in the love we hold in our hearts, in the grace we extend to others, and the grace we allow ourselves to receive. It took me so long to truly grasp that I am loved simply because I am. Not because I achieved something or organized something or perfectly executed something, just because I am. And that, my dear, is the most profound freedom of all. Looking back, these 6 things, the need for perfection, holding on to resentments, clinging to control, fearing vulnerability, chasing a future ideal, and tying worth to productivity, they were heavy stones in my travel bag. Slowly, prayerfully, and sometimes with a gentle nudge from life itself, I've learned to set them down. And with each stone released, my steps have grown lighter, my heart has expanded, and my ability to truly see and connect with others has deepened. It's a gradual unfolding, not a sudden transformation, but oh, the peace it brings. Thank you for spending this quiet moment with me, for listening to these reflections from a seasoned heart. If just one of these thoughts sparks a recognition within you, if it gently encourages you to release a burden you might be carrying, then my sharing will have been more than worthwhile. If these stories resonate with you and you feel a connection to this journey of wisdom and grace, please consider subscribing to our channel so we can continue to walk this path together. With a grateful heart, this is Grace.